All right, let's dive right in. In the world of finance, there's this massive idea, this dream, really. What if you could control risk with a simple dial? Well, that's the promise of volatility targeting. It's a tool used by some of the absolute biggest players out there, but as we're about to see, it comes with a powerful and honestly, a deeply misunderstood illusion of control.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Imagine you could take the wild, chaotic beast that is financial risk and just dial it down. Or dial it up. What if you could just set it to stable and not have to worry? It's an incredibly seductive idea, and it's right at the heart of why volatility targeting is so popular.
And this gets us to the core concept. The whole strategy is an attempt to turn risk, this messy, unpredictable thing, into a simple, manageable control variable. The goal? Well, it's straightforward: stability. A smooth, predictable ride no matter what the market is throwing at you on any given day.
So, what is it really? Volatility targeting is a strategy where you're constantly tweaking how much you're invested, that's your exposure, with one single goal: to keep the portfolio's choppiness, its volatility, at a steady, pre-decided level. In theory, it sounds perfect, right? An elegant way to keep risk on a leash.
The entire thing, the whole machine, really boils down to this one simple, powerful relationship. The control rule is this: your target weight, or your exposure, is inversely proportional to volatility. Now, in plain English, all that means is when markets get crazy and volatility, that's our sigma there, goes up, the system automatically pulls your money out. It reduces exposure. And when markets are super calm, it does the opposite. It levers you up. It's a pure mechanical feedback loop.
And look, let's be totally clear. This strategy is popular for some very good reasons. It absolutely enforces discipline. It's like a mechanical check on your own greed and fear. And because of that, it acts as a really powerful risk governance tool. It's not trying to predict the future. It's just about setting the rules of the game ahead of time and then making sure you stick to them no matter what.
Okay, but here is where this story takes a very, very sharp turn. See, the exact mechanism that's designed to control risk can, under the wrong conditions, become a massive amplifier of that very same risk. This is what's known as the pro-cyclicality problem. It's that terrifying moment when your solution starts acting just like the problem.
So how does this work? Well, it's a dangerous feedback loop, and it happens in a few steps. First, some event causes market volatility to spike. Step 2, all these automated systems, following that same simple rule, they automatically start selling to cut their exposure. But here's the kicker. If enough money is doing this all at once, their selling creates even more selling pressure. This just amplifies the original market move, which in turn creates, you guessed it, even more volatility. The snake starts eating its own tail.
And this is the central paradox, isn't it? Volatility, the very thing you are desperately trying to control, becomes unstable precisely because everyone is trying to control it. The system is built on the assumption that volatility is an external force, something that just happens to us. But in a crisis, it becomes an internal one, driven by the risk models themselves.
But the danger here isn't just about the sudden crashes. Oh no. There's a much more subtle, hidden risk that's building up when everything seems perfect, during those long, quiet, calm periods in the market. This is the danger of risk accumulation happening in disguise.
There's a quote from the material that is so important, it's worth hearing word for word. Low volatility regimes are not low risk regimes. They are often risk accumulation regimes. Just let that sink in for a moment. Calm markets aren't necessarily safe markets. In fact, they can be the very places where the biggest risks are being quietly built up right under our noses.
So how does this happen? Well, as volatility falls, the system gets a false sense of safety. And what does our rule tell it to do when things are safe? That's right, increase exposure, add leverage. So the system systematically takes on more and more and more risk. The huge problem is, when that calm, quiet regime finally breaks, the losses you face are this brutal combination of two things: the new super high volatility and the massive exposure you've already built up. It's just a painful double hit.
Okay, so if it's not some magic risk dial, then what is it? We need a better mental model for this tool. You have to think of it less like an autopilot for your portfolio and more like a set of guardrails.
And this brings us to an absolutely critical distinction. On one hand, you have volatility control. That's all about stabilizing the day-to-day bumps. It's about smoothing the ride. But on the other hand, you have drawdown control. This is what really matters for survival. It's about managing the sequence and the clustering of your losses. See, you can have stable volatility day after day and still get totally wiped out by a bad string of losses. Smoothing the ride is not the same thing as making sure you actually finish the race.
So if you remember one thing, let it be this. Volatility targeting manages smoothness, not survival. It is a tool designed for the quality of the journey. It is not a guarantee that you will reach your destination.
So what is its proper role then? Well, it's a great tool to standardize risk across a bunch of different investments. It does enforce that mechanical discipline we talked about, taking your own emotional biases out of the equation. And, crucially, it makes the risk trade-offs you're making explicit and visible. At its heart, it's a governance tool, not a performance engine.
And this really is the best way to think about it. Volatility targeting is like the guardrail on a highway. It's there to keep you from accidentally veering off into a ditch. But it is absolutely not a self-driving car. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel, you still have to steer.
Which leaves us with a final, really important question to ask ourselves. Not just about volatility targeting, but about any risk system we use. Does your safety net, the very thing you're relying on for a sense of control, actually end up creating the very risks it's supposed to prevent? And that, right there, is the illusion of control.